Hello, this is Rudy Mancke. I'm naturalist in residence, and I guess, since you're not right in front of me, I can take off the mask. I hope you wear it because it's a wise thing to do. Take care of yourself, take care of other people. And we are supposed to realize we're part of something bigger than ourselves, right? And as a naturalist, that makes sense to me. We're here to celebrate, in one form or another, the winter solstice, which occurred yesterday. We were a little late, but not much. Yesterday was really a pretty spectacular day for a number of reasons, but the winter solstice came into being at 5:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, what does that mean? That means that at 5:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the vertical rays of the sun were on the Tropic of Capricorn, 23.5 degrees below the equator, south of the equator. The sun had been moving, the vertical rays had been moving south of the equator since the fall equinox that we celebrated together, autumnal equinox. Been moving. Well, lo and behold, yesterday, the sun seemed to stop moving. The vertical rays of the sun were on the Tropic of Capricorn, and today is the next day, and they're moving farther north today. They're not going any farther south. Solstice means sol for sun, and stis means, stand still or stops. And then, of course, this is the beginning of winter. This should have been yesterday what we call the shortest day of the year. Now, that doesn't mean that there's less than 24 hours. It just means that there's the smallest amount of sunlight, daylight, versus darkness. So yesterday was the darkest day of the year and the smallest amount of sunlight. So the winter solstice. And solstice, vertical rays stop moving south, so today they're beginning to fall a little bit north and heading toward the equator. And when it gets to the equator, it'll be the spring equinox. That's the way the system works. It has all to do really with the amount of light versus the amount of darkness. And plants and animals are very sensitive to that, and they seem to be aware of that kind of early and have many of them already prepared for the winter that is coming. Now, what else happened yesterday? And matter of fact, if you didn't see it yesterday, you can go out tonight and look for it. Look to the southwest after the glow of the sun is gone, and there are two planets that are very close to each other. It's called the Great Conjunction. I love that. Two planets that seem to be pretty close together, and to our eye, they really are. And these are the two largest planets in our solar system, so they're pretty easy to see. Take a pair of binoculars with you and you'll get a real good view of Jupiter. And if you're very fortunate, you can see 4 of the moons of Jupiter. And then also Saturn. And this is about as close as they've been in a long time. It's been nearly 800 years since those two planets were this close to each other and visible at night. And that's, of course, the only time we're going to be able to experience it, because in the daytime the sun would be, too bright. The Great Conjunction. I think this is pretty interesting. Sometimes people refer to the light of those two planets, and they're planets now, not stars, as the Christmas star. But where does that light that we see coming from Jupiter and Saturn originate? Sunlight. It's reflected sunlight, because planets don't produce their own light. And you're seeing that from a great distance. This is always amazing to me. Take it for granted sometimes, but the great, or the grand, some people call it, conjunction. I saw it last night low in the southwestern sky in my backyard. Because, of course, what do you expect in the winter? A lot of deciduous trees around, the oaks and hickories in my yard don't have any leaves on them anymore. So I get a better view of the sky, even though those trees are there. That's one of those changes that comes. It starts now right at the autumnal or fall equinox, and the fall part really means leaves are falling. And deciduous trees produce a little thicker layer, and there's no flow of fluids or food to the leaf, and that causes the leaves to fall off. And really, this time of year, if you want to have a great bit of a challenge, and we're going to do that. We're going to have to this time of year because we're going to have to play detective more than we normally do. We don't see the tree fully leaved right now. But let's see if I can show you one leaf that I picked up walking across campus a minute ago. Now, this isn't a native plant, which is frustrating to me, but that's the way life is sometimes, you know, frustrating, especially this year. What is this? It's a leathery leaf. You see how yellow it is, long stalk on it. This is Ginkgo. Scientific name, Ginkgo biloba. Sometimes the leaves don't have two lobes. Sometimes they do. Ginkgo biloba. It's planted all over the place now. We've got fossil records all over the northern hemisphere. But this plant is not nearly as common as it once was. You find it as fossils and you find it as, you know, ornamentals. And when you think about this time of year, you think about certain plants that are not shedding their leaves because that adds a little bit of brightness. And can you see what this is? A little tough, but I know that's my face behind it. That's tough too. But green leaves, a little bit of stickers on the side, not this one. This is one of the hollies, right? Green leaves on with bright red fruit. But you probably noticed this, and if you haven't, here's what I'm here to do for you, is to point out that not every holly has fruit on it. My grandmother and people of her generation planted a row of holly bushes wanting fruit on all of them, and some had fruit and some did not. Why not? How do you explain that? Well, these plants are dioecious. What? Di means two, eicious means households. And basically it tells you that the flowers on these plants are separate male and female flowers. And not only are they separate, but they're on two different plants. Dioecious means it takes two to tango, it takes two to reproduce. And a lot of the plants that we see this time of year are dioecious species. It's funny to me to think about that, but here it is. Not all hollies have the fruit. And of course, fruit is good food for birds. We're going to talk about birds migrating through. Somebody had emailed me a little bit earlier saying what kind of birds are coming through South Carolina right now. We've got a lot of migrants, and I'll give you a long list in just a minute or two. But holly, I love it. Dioecious plant. Persimmons are dioecious. Not every persimmon tree produces fruit. Now, just for fun, is this a male holly or a female holly? Well, fruit, by definition, is a ripened ovary. So this had female flowers on it. And that's why it has fruit. Now, what else is growing right now up in trees? And when I was a kid, I was told that if you could find this clump of plants, which is a parasite that grows on trees, taking water from the tree, bright green leaves, it has chlorophyll, it can make its own food. But if you can get one with fruit on it, white fruit, then you get free kisses from any girl you bump into. And there's supposed to be kisses on the mouth, not just a kiss on the cheek. So I was searching for mistletoe with fruit. There was mistletoe in our backyard. It never had fruit. And it frustrated me, obviously, because you need the fruit. I went out with a guy one time with a .22 caliber rifle and shot a little bit of mistletoe out of the trees to get to the fruit. But the fruit now is mildly poisonous, so you don't eat it, but when you pick it and throw it down, you're entitled to one kiss on the mouth. When you run out of white fruit, berry-like fruit, then you don't get the kisses anymore. How in the world does mistletoe get up in tops of trees anyway? Well, it's really sticky seed and fruit. So if birds are eating it, that sticky stuff's going to get on their beak, and where are they going to go to wipe off the sticky? You guessed it, in the top of a tree. And the seed attached there and burrow in, the root system burrows in and taps xylem tubes, water carrying tubes. And that's interesting. Not phloem tubes, that's carrying the food, but xylem tubes carry the water, and that's the parasitic part of mistletoe. Persimmons, like I said, also are really kind of strange because they have the male and female flowers separate and on two different plants. Now, just for fun, most flowers are complete flowers, or some people would say hermaphroditic flowers. They got male and female reproductive parts in the same plant. If dioecious refers to plants with male and female reproductive parts separate and on two different plants, what would the term be for plants that have male and female reproductive parts separate, but they're on the same plant? Not dioecious, monoecious. Yeah. Monoecious plants are pretty common. A lot of them flower early in the year. Oaks are dioecious plants. Alders are, monoecious plants. Alders are monoecious plants. Speaking of playing detective, just picked up this leaf across campus just a little while ago. Look at those lobes on that, and that's one of the oaks. And this is one of the chestnut oaks. Sometimes when you're trying to identify trees in the winter, it's a real challenge because deciduous trees drop their leaves, but where do they drop their leaves? Right underneath the trees. So, this is one of those monoecious plants, male and female reproductive parts separate, but they're on the same plant. There's another oak, and I picked up quite a few of these. Maybe you can see. Now, these are individual leaves. What would you call an oak that had narrow leaves like this? If you know a little about trees, these look a lot like willow leaves. So the common name is, you guessed it, willow oak. It's a monoecious plant. Male and female reproductive parts separate, but on the same plant. Notice that blackboard behind me. I'm teaching you a little lesson or two here. Now let me ask a question, see if you can figure this out. You got dioecious plants on one hand. You got monoecious plants on the other hand. Which one of those two probably would be insect pollinated? And which one of those two probably is just wind pollinated? Think about it a minute. I don't have a TikTok here, but if you got male and female reproductive parts on the same plant, they're separate, but they're on the same plant, then wind can carry the pollen, don't you think? From one part of the plant to the other. Yeah, monoecious plants are almost always wind pollinated, and you'll notice that usually they're producing a whole lot of pollen because a lot of times the wind's just going to miss its target. Well, it doesn't have a target. It's just not going to hit the female reproductive parts. Dioecious plants, a male maybe over here on one side, and then a female over here on another side, you know. How are you going to get the two together? Insect pollinated. It's almost always true. It's amazing, isn't it, the way the world works, and I kind of like things like that. And then we've got some flowering plants that, have male and female reproductive parts in the same flower, complete or hermaphroditic flowers. Here's a leaf of one of them that's really planted a lot in South Carolina and in the southeast. Usually we call it southern magnolia. Genus name is Magnolia. The specific name is grandiflora, the largest flowered magnolia. And we seem to love those large flowered magnolias, so we plant them all over the state. Even though most of the magnolias really are more native to the coastal plain in the southeast, we've planted them all over southeastern states. And then again, you keep the leaf on. It's kind of interesting. When it happens, eventually, of course, they do fall off. They just don't fall off all at once in the winter. Love to play detective. It's interesting when you start looking at the woods right now, leaves bare so many times. Branches now are broken off, and a lot of times you end up with branches that fall to the ground, so you get really pretty good looks at things. And there is a dead branch with a lot of green growth on the top. And of course, these are those interesting organisms that are two kingdoms in one. They're members of the fungi, you know, the mushrooms and their relatives, and then there are also a green alga involved. So it's an alga and a fungus that have taken lichen to each other, is what we usually say and smile. These are lichens, and some of them are really interesting shapes. This one has a hole right in the top. It's going to be hard to see because of the camera situation here, but there's a little hole right there in the top of that flattened area. And then this one looks like old man's beard. That's one of the common names for that. Lichens, you know, this time of year are doing just fine until they fall down to the ground. And honestly, a lichen will do well down on the ground. This time of year, though, and I've had a lot of people who've sent me pictures of this brown jelly-like mass on dead branches that fall out of almost always oak trees. Almost always they're oak trees. And they're gooey, and you touch them and they're almost feeling like an ear, you know, but not quite. There is an ear fungus that's big like an ear, and this is a relative of it. But this is a jelly fungus. Brown jelly fungus is one name for it. Amber jelly fungus is another one. Very, very common on oaks this time of year. They would be on dead branches. But when the wind blows through the branches, sometimes they fall to the ground. And it's really strange because these little brown jelly-like things dry out. And when they're dry, they're flat. They're not bulged out like a bowl full of jelly. Seems appropriate this time of year. But if you add water, guess what happens? They grow back out again. It's crazy. It's amazing. Fungi like that are interesting. You know, they have the little thread-like structures, the hyphae they're called, that actually get nourishment from the plant that they're on, getting it from the dead, decaying branch. This is the time of year when you bring trees into the house. So I'm just going to be one of those people who is going to remind you that if you get a tree and bring it into the house and maybe, you know, put Christmas presents under it, there may actually be other things in that tree that you didn't wrap. They're little surprise packages that are in trees this time of year, and it's amazing when you can see that kind of thing happen. It's odd. We have a large grasshopper that's at least that long. It's called a bird grasshopper. It overwinters often as an adult if it can find a hiding place. Just dead leaves on the ground are enough unless it's a really cold winter. But they love a coniferous tree because that's not going to shed any of the leaves. So eastern red cedar or all the others that have been used now, pines and other things, spruces and firs and the rest that are brought into houses sometimes have one of these or more hiding in it. And once things warm up in a house, one day when you least expect it, this thing comes flying out and really not hit you in the face always, but it can happen. Now, what else can happen? You've got egg cases that are laid in the tree by praying mantises or Carolina mantises or one of the mantises. There are many different species. The big one that looks about the size, honestly, of a browned marshmallow, that's the Asiatic mantis. And when those things hatch, you got 50 to 100 praying mantises that come out of that thing. And it's amazing to go and turn the lights on and see what's down there, and then all of those little baby mantises move. I had someone who called me once early in the morning about their children that went down early, turned on the light, and instead of a squeal of glee, they were screaming and ran back to bed and woke their parents. And says, "You're not going to believe this, I turned the light on, the whole wall moved." Well, there are a lot of mantises. I ended up getting those a little bit later. That happens every now and then. You get mantises that get in the tree. One of the interesting things this year, if you noticed when they put up the tree in Rockefeller Center, what was sitting in the tree? I guess it came with the tree, or it found shelter there maybe after the tree had been moved. A little saw-whet owl. It's an animal we so rarely see this far south, but of course that far north, those animals do just fine and seek a place to be comfortable in colder weather. You never are going to be able to predict sometimes what come out. Also, you see every now and then some really large aphids that are on trees, sucking sap out of the trees that you are bringing in. So just make you aware of it. Had an interesting photograph sent to me from someone who had a bird's nest in their tree and thought it was such a neat thing to see. And of course, birds don't really generally reuse nests, so it was an interesting thing to have, and they kept it in the tree and really were as thrilled about that as some of the other things that that were under the tree. Nature's really good, It's fun to think about the fact that we all as human beings have access to this natural world. Nobody ever runs out of the woods and says your butterfly that you just caught and looked at and released will cost you $5.95. This is free. And we're a part of that natural system, not separate from it. We're supposed to take good care of it every season of the year. And right now, if you want to take really good care of some of the birds that are out there wondering how they're going to make it through cold weather, make sure your bird feeders are full. Seed feeders, I always use black oil sunflower seed instead of the mix of seed. I really don't want rodents, rats, mice, and things under my bird feeders. I'd really rather just have birds there, if possible. I know squirrels come too. But black oil sunflower seed, that's expensive and it really works well. And suet feeders. You can make your own suet or you can buy it. There are birds that will come to a suet feeder that are not going to come to the seed feeders. And then a bird bath, a little bit of, not that they're going to bathe in it, of course, but that gives them water. And that's nice sometimes to have a little bit of water waiting for you that's not moving. I've had a couple of interesting people who have sent me photographs of plants that are green this time of year, low on the ground in the woods. You got all these dark leaves like I showed you. Dark colors are typical this time of year. But when you see, green popping out, especially down in the dead leaves, what are you looking at? And I didn't have the heart to tear one of the leaves off because that leaf, of course, is providing nourishment for this little plant. And the plant that they saw, and the leaf would be about, well, not as big as my hand, maybe 2 fingers wide. It's green on the top. That's what they saw. And it looks like it's been pleated, pulled together. And then when you turn it over, it's bright purple. And that's the leaf of a cranefly orchid. And the winter is the best time to see where your cranefly orchids are. And put a little marker there so that you can go back in summer when they're flowering and actually see the flowers. The flowers are very small and they look a lot like craneflies. So cranefly orchid is the common name. It's one of the most common orchids that we've got in the eastern United States. But it's a good time of year, if the snow's not covering the ground, to see it. And down here in the southeast, we don't have a whole lot of snow. So people are noticing that. Be a good observer, because this is the time of year when you can get long views of things. Maybe there are things out there that rock outcrops and other things that you didn't even notice before, or maybe there's skeletal material that is out there that you've been walking right by the area, but the leaves have blocked you. Somebody sent this to me. It's a skull, but if you can see that end on it, there are two vertebrae there. Two vertebrae. And I don't know whether you know this, maybe you do. What are the two cervical vertebrae in all mammals? What's the name for them? Well, the one that holds up the skull is called the atlas, because it's holding up your world. And the next one is the axis. And that was still attached to this skull. And you see the way the skull looks. I'm turning it to show you the top. And of course, if I turn it this way, you're going to see the teeth. A little challenging to see clearly in a situation like this. But those back molars, boy, those back molars right there, where are they? Right there. They look a lot like mine. So this skull is of an omnivore. It's not a carnivore, it's an omnivore. It's eating plant and animal material. And the openings for the eyes are up toward the front. There are the nostrils and everything that you can see. Shape of the skull, though, gives it away. The size of it gives it away. This is one of the most common omnivores that we've got, other than ourselves. Raccoons. Very, very common. Look at that ear opening right on the side there, huh? Yeah. And then these bulges underneath, see them? Those are the ear bulges. Tympanic bulla, they're called. But they're the teeth. Some of the teeth are missing, But if you have a really big hole like that, don't you think there used to be a really big tooth in that really big hole? Yeah, and those are canine teeth. And that tells you that this was actually feeding on animal material too. Sometimes you didn't notice the skulls in the woods, and it's interesting when you find them this time of year. Now, can you name two groups of animals that have bones in their body but never have any teeth? So if you find one of their skulls, you're not going to see any teeth to look at. Well, one of them is birds, of course. My grandmother used to say, if something was really rare, scarce as hen's teeth. Yeah, here's the skull of a bird killed on the side of the road. It's got a nice beak on it, you can see. No teeth at all. Now, what are these googly looking things that are sticking out? Well, normally you wouldn't see that on the skull. But I'm going to take this one on that far side out, because I want to show you something most people never have seen in their life. See the way it narrows down right here? These are bones in the sclera of the eyeball in birds and in reptiles, by the way. Not all birds have them, most of them do, especially the predators. That's a barred owl skull that we just looked at, and you can see the individual plates, and that focuses, I'm sticking my finger through, that's where the part of the eyeball is that is, the cornea is, that is accepting light. It focuses a lot of light into one place for the owl, and that gives them the opportunity to see beautifully well. This is stiff and sturdy. Sometimes when you find it in dinosaurs, boy, those are really big scleral ossicles. But that's interesting, isn't it? And the skull, with everything in place, scleral ossicles are now on the other side. Got that little curve, got the beak. You can tear an animal open with that, but what does the owl kill with? Really not with the beak. It's those talons behind that are the dangerous things. Now, we're about halfway through, so let's just keep going here. Let's look for insect signs and activity. Look at this. Here's a leaf with a really nice cocoon on it. See, it was attached to the center of the leaf, and the leaf fell. I know you want to know what the leaf is. It's southern red oak, okay? All the oaks are genus Quercus, and falcata is the specific name for the southern red oak. What is that big opening there? That's where the moth is already left. So this individual came out, last year or earlier in this year. And this, so stiff, when you feel this thing and pull on it, push on it, that right there is solid. So that tells me that's a Polyphemus moth, the big brown moth. Somebody the other day said, what am I going to get my children for Christmas? I'll tell you what to get them. A good series of books with photographs, paintings, drawings of things like this Polyphemus moth over here. See it? Boom, right there. And you see the caterpillar, you see the larval food plant, you see a range map at the bottom, you see the cocoon. Now this one has the cocoon on the ground. Usually in the south it's attached to something. And this is the Golden Guides series from St. Martin's Press. Butterflies and moths. It's absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. It's got so much information in it. And it's updated. And for an old guy like me who likes scientific names, it has scientific names included. When I was a kid, I had the whole series. And couldn't live without them. And now they're much better than even I would have imagined back in those days. But that one is a Polyphemus moth. Now, look at this. This cocoon is attached all along one side. It's not just attached on one side. Now, honestly, that one right there was attached all the way down. Usually it's hanging. This one's attached all the way along one side, and it is a big cocoon, which usually implies a pretty big moth. And this one, I love this one, not as common as Polyphemus moths. This one is called the Secropia Moth. Now, could I look up Secropia Moth in the little book over here? Absolutely. And see it. And if I could do this quickly, I'd actually show you. Let's see if I can find it real fast. Kaboom. You ready? Okay. No extra charge. You see it? See that? Let me just push this real hard. I hate to damage the book. It's on the other side. My hand's in the wrong place. Right over here. There's the caterpillar. There's the adult. And hold on. Isn't the cocoon there? There is the cocoon that attaches along the side. If you love your grandchildren, you want to give them a different perspective on the world, you want to get them interested in something beyond themselves that they'll never run out of curiosity about, that series of books, they're great. One on insects is good. This one is butterflies and moths. There's one on spiders and their kin, which is one of the best books on spiders that you can buy. And speaking of spiders, let's give them their moment. This is a mass of spider silk where probably a jumping spider spent some time. A turkey oak leaf here. So you can find all sorts of things attached to leaves. Keep your eyes open. Sometimes the little spider will pop right out. But there's nothing that was in this one. This is the time of year to look for crazy things. This is the time of year to find this mud ball with all these holes in it. What in the world is this? Well, usually you see it under places that are protected from the rain because mud would wash this off. This is one of the wasps that builds a chamber, not to retire in, but this is a nest for young. And this is the mud dauber, usually, is what it's called. It's got yellow on the legs. Blobby looking. There's another mud dauber. Look at this, another species that really, instead of building one big blob, actually has vertical chambers. Can you see those? Yeah. Look at that, like organ pipes, if everything's connected. Really neat. And what do they feed their young? Well, there's some left there, but it's hard for you to see. They feed them spiders. The female wasp actually paralyzes spiders, puts them in these tubes. And that's called the organ pipe wasp. And then the other one, usually you just call it the mud dauber. Both of them using mud to make the nest. Play detective. You're going in the woods, you're walking around. This is in a goldenrod field. I've got two things. Well, why don't we start with the obvious one? This round thing. See it? It's nice and round. Now you see the way the stem's supposed to be that width and that width, but it's swollen. It's an abnormal growth of cells. What causes that? Gosh, it's almost like cancer. Abnormal growth of cells, natural cells of the plant. This is caused by an irritation made by a little fly. There's a little, well, you can maybe barely see that hole right there. That's hard to see. And it's hard for me to play to a camera, isn't it? There's one little hole right there at the end of my fingernail. I can't see it. Okay, a nice round hole, tiny. Gall wasps are tiny, never going to be a problem to people, but when they inject these eggs in, this is going to be a fly. Now, how does a fly, because a fly doesn't have chewing mouth parts, how does the fly get out of something solid like this? Because this is very solid. Well, same question. Look at this one. Maybe this one, the hole is a little bigger. Maybe you can see it. Yeah, there's a hole that's bigger. This is an elliptical gall. It's on the same plant, but it's a totally different animal that was involved. And this one is a moth. Moths and flies don't have any way to chew their way out as adults. Oh, I gave you the clue. When do you chew the hole? When you're a larva and you've got chewing mouth parts. I'll tell you, if you have complete metamorphosis and you're an insect, you are living the good life. Because you can overwinter as an egg or a larva or a pupa or an adult. And it's amazing to have all of those options. Most animals don't have that. A lot of insects do. So what do? You chew your way out, close it off with a little bit of debris, go back, and then once warmer weather comes, you push your way out. Golly. It's amazing the way the world works. It is. It's amazing the way the world works. One other thing, I'm just going to show you this real fast because it's just so neat. This one blew out of a tree in a neighbor's yard. Do you see that beautifully made nest? And of course, what's covering it? Lichens. What is this? Well, it almost looks like a hummingbird nest, but it's way too big. Hummingbird nest would be much smaller than that. Not so tall, not so deep. This is the blue-gray gnatcatcher. This is a little bird that goes a little farther south and is not around here in the winter. I always am happy to hear their call, the peeping sound when they come back. But they build a nest out of lichens and really hold everything together with spider silk or caterpillar silk. That's the way business is done. That one blew out of the tree and landed in somebody's yard. A few feathers, because sometimes you find an individual feather. And I think this might be fun. This one's easy, and I think I may have used this last time. Looks at the zebra striping on it. It's very, very thick shaft. It's wonderful for a writing pen. Just, slice off the end. Wild turkey. Nothing like it. It's curved, so it's a flight feather. The shaft is always toward the front on the flight feather, so it is a left wing feather from a turkey. Check this one out. This is a tail feather. This one should be pretty easy for you. Well, it looks blue. Now that color is not a color, it's refracted light, but see the shaft running right down the middle of the feather, which tells me it's a tail feather. Black barring. What is it? It's the old blue jay. Boy, I can hear them yelling right now. Well, I can't, but I bet they're yelling at something or someone right now. Blue jay feather. All right, try one more. This one's kind of neat. I love the white, and then black, and then kind of a grayish color. And it's a tail feather too, although it's flat, but the shaft isn't dead center. But it's a tail feather. And what in the world is it from? That's a mourning dove. Yeah, the cooing dove that's native that we've got here. Now I've got another one for you. It's pretty neat. And here's one of those migrators. Somebody asked about what birds are migrating through, so I'm going to have to hurry along here. I'm holding up one tail feather, and I love it because this is diagnostic. Don't need anything but one. Do you see the fact that it has that yellow tip on the end? Isn't that nice? Short, small bird, come in flocks, eat holly berries. Hadn't seen them yet, but I'm hoping cedar waxwings will make it this far south this year. And that's what a tail feather, single feather of a cedar waxwing has. A little bit of white at the, or yellow at the end. And then speaking of yellow, there's nothing like this. Look at that yellow shaft on the feather. You see that? It's yellow. Yellow shafted. Used to be called a yellow shafted flicker. Now we call it the northern flicker. My grandmother's generation, this would be the yellow hammer, is what they would call it. And if you've never seen the feathers of that, and I'm just going to hold them up close to me, maybe you can get a feeling for them. And I'm going to try to make it easy. Look at those. These are breast feathers, and do you see the dark dots that are on the individual feathers? This is incredible. And the reason that I got this, I certainly don't go out and kill something to get feathers, but something had killed, I think a feral cat had killed a flicker. Flickers are the ones that come down on the ground and feed on insects on the ground. And you know what? They feed on fire ants. So, next time you see one doing that, just, get out of your car and applaud and egg them on a little bit, because fire ants, one of those non-native introductions that has caused a lot of trouble. Let's do birds real fast, because someone had asked, I think, about birds that are going to be here in the wintertime. On your mark, get set, go. Birds that are migrating now, I guess is what you're talking about. Birds that you wouldn't normally see. And one of the ones that I've been seeing a lot in the middle of the state of South Carolina are gulls, especially ring-billed gulls. They're usually more along the coast, but they come up rivers and into lakes this time of year. Cormorants, double-crested cormorants are more common now. You go really where the fish are. And this time of year, if you're a gull farther north, you might just want to go a little farther south and take advantage of opportunities here. And of course, gulls now aren't just eating fish, they're scavengers. So they're around green boxes behind food stores in South Carolina, just like they are probably close to where you are. They're the white dots that you see on rocks and rivers near Columbia, South Carolina right now. And if you fly much, which I don't do any more. I want to, but I'm a little afraid to right now. But when you look out the window and you see a cleared area of ground and all these white dots, that's a landfill. And those are gulls. It's just the way it is. You've got to play detective a little bit. Kinglets, ruby crowned, golden crowned kinglets. They've been here. Juncos arrived a while back, which was nice. We now have loons on lakes and along the coast in South Carolina. And those loons are from pretty far north, coming to spend the winter with us and then head to breeding grounds a little bit later. Cedar waxwings, I haven't seen large flocks yet, but I expect to see large flocks of cedar waxwings. Rose-breasted grosbeaks have really already come through. White-throated sparrows are with us all winter, and that's the little bird that is calling in December. The little whistle. That's the white-throated sparrow. It's got a white throat. I love it. I love it. It's the only song that you're going to hear in December. I love that. Wonderful little poem to that effect. Hermit thrushes, winter wrens. This is the time to see a winter wren every now and then. Goldfinches used to be back more in the winter than any other time now. In South Carolina, we've got them year-round. Yellow-bellied sapsuckers are here. The only woodpecker that's migrant. It comes in from the north. It's hard to get sap out of sugar maple trees in Vermont this time of year, so you come south to get sap and insects, and then you fly farther north. Had a couple of people who've shown me yellow-bellied sapsuckers this year that are fighting each other for something. A pair of them knocked themselves out of a tree, supposedly to the ground. I don't think they were arguing over food. I think probably arguing for a nice place to get out of colder weather that they thought might be coming. Purple finches, we've got house finches now all the time in the southeast. Drives me a little crazy, introduced by humans, in New York State. But now we have the purple finches here, and the other day I had a crowd of pine siskins. And what I noticed, and I noticed this with goldfinches too, sometimes when they're on a feeder, they're throwing down unopened seed as if they're trying to offer the seed to these individuals down below. Maybe there's a message in that, huh? And then they go ahead and feed up at the top, and there's only so much room for everybody to come in. Thistle feeders work too for finches, as you may know. Nest boxes are good if you want to give them a try. I've had a lot of fun with nest boxes in the backyard. It's just that squirrels, take advantage of opportunities like that too. I wanted to just hit rocks for a minute, and I don't know that I have enough time, but why not start with this one? 3 rock types, right? Igneous, metamorphic, sedimentary rocks. Let's start off with one of my favorites, and it's going to remind me of a geology professor I had at Wofford College, John Harrington. He would find a rounded boulder like this, and he would tell you what it is. This is granite, igneous rock, lots of crystals in the rock. Feldspar and mica and quartz are the dominating ones. We've got a lot of granite in South Carolina. That's why we have white sandy beaches. The grains of sand, the quartz, are the things that rivers dump into the ocean and get kicked back up on the beach. But old John Harrington used to talk about the wasness of the is. Think about this in this cold, dark winter day. The wasness of the is. Here's the way this thing is today. What does it tell you about the way it was in the past? Well, this used to be liquid rock, so there must have been association of volcanoes or volcanic activity. Okay? And then this thing hardened into stone, and then it got eroded out, and then it got, rounded by water. The wasness of the is. Here's the way it is today. What does it tell you about the way it was in the past? That's an igneous rock. Ooh, I like metamorphic rocks too, because they tell stories. They look like they're, see the way those layers are folded? Look like they've been folded up and smeared in some way. I love this. That's a metamorphic rock. It's called a schist. And it tells us that the continent we now call Africa once nudged into what we call North America and squeezed rock up, and that's what formed the Appalachians. Here's another one of the schists. This is a Micaceous Schist. And it's got black dots in it, and that's, what is that? Garnets all over the place. They were squeezed into place. Now, let me correct myself since I'm running fast and not thinking. This rock with the folds, it's not a schist, it's a gneiss, G-N-E-I-S-S, one of the very nice rocks that you find. Metamorphic rocks right in front of the mountains tell a story about continental collisions in the past. And then I got to do one more if I got time. Here's another type of rock, but now wait a minute. It's got this weird shape to it. Look at this. See it? Whoa. The person who found this thought it might have been an Indian artifact, a Native American thing that it was used to sort of straighten arrows or spear points. And the other person who looked at it this way and thought, oh, that's the skull, it's a fossil of a deer skull. I mean, a deer skull. A turtle skull with the lower jaw. See the little lower jaw area there? Yeah. Of course, there are no eye openings. There's no opening for the spinal cord. But anyway, neither of those were correct. This was found about 50 miles from the coast. They brought it to my office. They said that they believed whatever I told them. They'd bet $100 between them that one or the other was right. I had to tell them that both were incorrect. I'll hold this up. And here's the way I explained it to them without saying a word. You ready? Oh my goodness. That shell fits perfectly into half of this. And if you just had the other half of the shell, wouldn't that fit into place too? Yep. Now, this is a giant Atlantic cockle shell. And this particular species wasn't around when this was made, but this is a cast of the body of a marine bivalve, and it was found 50 miles away from modern day ocean. What would John Harrington say? It's the wasness of the is. What used to be here that isn't here today? And it was an ocean. This is amazing stuff. The more you start looking closely at the world, the more absolutely amazed you are by it. Here's an easy skull. We've just got a few minutes left. Forgive me. I'm just going to try to show it to you. It's got a bone all the way around the eye. I showed it to you last time. You may remember it. No canine teeth up here at the front. No canine teeth up here at all. No incisors on the front for biting. Just flat teeth for grinding plant material. This is white-tailed deer. And when you get the complete skull, not much of a challenge, is it? And it's neat. Big opening at the back for the spinal cord. Pretty impressive, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. That's what that is. Somebody brought this into me. Whoa. Look at that. Now you're looking at the inside of a skull. This was found in the woods. He had it sitting on his desk like this so that people could guess what it was. He told me if I could tell him what it was, I could keep it. And I think you noticed that I've got it in my hand. So I guess I must have gotten lucky, huh, and figured it out. What is this? And you're looking right down into the space where the brain was, and I don't know how much anatomy you know. I can't show it to you because of this crazy thing. My finger's in the way. But right where my finger used to be, right there, is a little saddle-shaped thing. It's called the sella turcica, the Turkish saddle, and that's where the pituitary gland sits below the brain. Somebody sawed off the top of this skull. Why in the world would you do that? Well, here's the back of the deer skull, right? There we go. I'll back up a little bit. Here's the other skull. Can you see this? Is it basically the same thing? This is the back of a male white-tailed deer skull. This is a female white-tailed deer. Why would you saw off the top of the back of a male white-tailed deer? Because you want to get the antlers. How common are white-tailed deer in South Carolina? I need my book just to tell you this. How many white-tailed deer were taken in the state of South Carolina in 2011 by licensed hunters? Not poachers and not roadkill individuals. How many deer were taken? If you want to know population size, this will give you a clue. Okay? How common are white-tailed deer? You want to take a guess? Think about it. Tens of thousands? Hundreds of thousands? 226,458 white-tailed deer were taken legally in the state of South Carolina in 1 year. We've got a large population of white-tailed deer, and that's interesting. Lots going on. This cool weather is going to take you outside. Now, I'm telling you, if you love somebody, during this little break that we're having for the holidays, maybe you can get a couple of those books and give them away. But take a little walk in the woods. You know the best gift you're ever going to give anybody in your life is a gift that only you can give them. Your time. Your pat on the back. Your hug, even though we can't hug everybody. But your time and your interest and your enthusiasm. And let them know that they're a part of that world, not separate from it. They're a part of something bigger than themselves. And I don't know about you, it makes life richer for me when I realize that. That connection with the natural world is something that we all need. We really do. Maybe this year more than ever. So take someone close to you on a nice little walk in the woods. I'm going to be doing the same thing. And I want you to think about me when you do it. And I'll be thinking about you when I do it with the grandchildren. And we'll have a good time. But remember now, it's dark, but the darkest day was yesterday. There's more light now than there was yesterday, and that is going to continue until the spring equinox and beyond. Kind of nice, isn't it? So have a good late solstice. If you get a chance to look in the southwest after the bright glow of the sun is gone, you might want to look for Saturn. That's the bigger one. Jupiter. That's the bigger one. And Saturn, a little above it and to the right, it was last night, before it goes below the horizon. By the way, take a pair of binoculars and check that half moon out and look at the craters on the moon, especially on the edges where you see just part of a crater. That's a lot of fun. I hope you have a great winter. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay warm, and get outside into that woods as much as you possibly can. And as soon as winter begins, I begin to long for spring. And next time I see you, it'll be the vernal equinox, right? The spring equinox. Have a good rest of 2020. I can't wait to move to another year. I bet you feel the same way. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.